The anime opens up by showing us the main protagonist Kelvin, who has just been reincarnated to a completely new world. He don't seem to remember much about his past life, but, suddenly when he stands up, a menu appears right in front of him. That's when he realized what exactly has happened to him. He also get to know about his new powers, one of which was the summoning ability. He also comes to know that the menu is able to converse with him. Along with the menu, Kelvin started to walk towards the town. While walking towards the town, the menu tells him that she is none other than goddess of reincarnation, and during his reincarnation process, he has asked her to be her follower and come in the new world with him. She couldn't decline his offer and agrees to accompany him. During walking through the town, Kelvin asks the goddess to give him his memories back, but she tells that he was the one who asked to forget about his past life in the first place. The goddess seems to be in love with Kelvin. Out of curiosity, Kelvin asks if he will be able to summon her. She informs him that the MP required to summon her into the world is far beyond his current stats. Kelvin has now reached the guild of the town, so he decides to enter the guild for his registration to be an adventurer. But during the registration, the goddess informs Kelvin that being a summoner in the world is quite rare, and he might draw some unwanted attention from the nobles and other people. He agrees and didn't mention his summoning ability in the registration paper. The guide provides Kelvin his guild card, which mentioned taught for now he is an F-rank adventurer as he has just joined the guild. The guide provide him the info about the adventures and different ranks in ranking system. Kelvin asks the guide if there are any jobs available for the beginners. She replied with a yes and provides Kelvin with 3 different options to choose from. The goddess suggests Kelvin to choose the slime quest as it will be the best option for his current level and would make an ideal job for him. Kelvin exits from the guild with a wooden road to fight the slimes. After reaching the forest, Kelvin spots a slime and becomes more aware about his abilities. He also realizes that the goddess is above level 100. The goddess tells Kelvin if he wants the slime to join his party he have to weaken them first, and then ask for their consent, if they would like to join his part or not. Kelvin tries to attack a slime, but he missed his attack and got struck back by it. Even though slimes are the weakest monsters in the world, he was still having a hard time, but soon he comes up with a plan and defeats the slime and uses the contract on the slime. The goddess asks Kelvin to name the slime as Kelvin fails to feel anything after getting in the contract, but after naming the slime, he started feeling the slime's feelings after naming it. Then he becomes even more curious to use his summoning ability. He wishes to use it, therefore he asks for its permission from the goddess. The goddess agrees and says it will be a great idea to do so. After that, both Kelvin and the slime starts attacking all the slime to gain express points to level up their stats. Kelvin soon realizes how fast his companion slime is leveling up and gets kind of worried if it will turn against him. The goddess eases him by saying there is no need to worry, as it won't go against and will remain in his team only. The goddess praises Kelvin for his success in accomplishing his first job and contract. After receiving the money, Kelvin started wandering around the town. He remembered that the guild recommended him to visit a place. He decided to pay a visit there. After reaching there, he saw that there are female slaves trapped in cages. The owner of the slaves was trying to sell them. He also tells the buyers that the slave was a half-elf, which were quite rare. Kelvin was not sure what he should do, but he decided to walk away from there. He started looking for a hotel to stay while he is in the town. He finally come across a hotel and decides to enter the hotel. He asks for a room to stay. Kelvin introduced himself and asks the owner that he have heard a lot about the hotel and its food, and would like to have dinner. The maid replies that his timing couldn't be more better, and it would be ready in just a few moments, and asks Kelvin to wait in his room until it is ready. Kelvin enters his room for the first time, and was not too happy about the room. After reviewing the room, he went to eat the dinner. The day finally came to an end. After many missions and jobs, Kelvin was able to level up from rank F to rank E. The guide informed him that not every adventurer level up this fast after just starting their career as an adventurer. The guide asks him if he was court mage in a palace before becoming an adventurer. He replies that he will not be able to answer her question. The guide also recommended him to invest in some new gears. Kelvin agrees. Kelvin also asks her to provide him a D-level job, but suddenly a man with blonde hair suggests Kelvin to take on Dark Ghost Knight. He seemed to be an egoistic person. He tries to handshake Kelvin, but Kelvin replies that he don't really know him. The blonde-haired person then introduces himself as Cashel, who an adventurer of level D, but he seems to be lying, as everyone in the guild was whispering about him, taking in adventurers of lower level in his team, who never comes back alive. Kelvin, after using his abilities, realizes that Cashel was a murderer, and feels that Cashel will not be backing down. So he decided to offer him to take part in a friendly competition with him, which was to see who will be able to defeat the knight first, Cashel's team or Kelvin alone. Cashel replies by saying Kelvin will not be able to defeat the knight alone, but still accepts the challenge and leaves to meet his team. Kelvin knew that Cashel will be planning to lay a trap for him, but he was prepared. Soon after, we are introduced with Cashel's team. One of his team members informs him that he was not able to recognize Kelvin's current level with his abilities, and they should remain careful. After reaching to the place, Cashel saw that the army of undead was already defeated. Kelvin appears from the shadow replying that it was him. Who did that? Cashel asks Kelvin that it was supposed to be a friendly competition. Kelvin replies that he knew who they were really after, and challenges them to a fight 1 versus 3. Cashel asks if Kelvin was actually a bounty hunter and was disguised as a rookie. Kelvin was completely unaware of what they were talking about, but still decided to play along. Kelvin traps one of Cashel's team member in a swap created with his magic. Cashel and his team members were now aware of Kelvin's actual powers. One of his team members started to run away, leaving the battle, but was stopped by a slime which was earlier pet by Kelvin, who was now evolved into much stronger form, also known as Slime Clatonia, whose species once almost decimated a water country. The other members of Cashel's team tried to attack Kelvin, but all of them were defeated by him with no difficulty. Later he decides to meet the knight. Kelvin now walks away and enters the room where the knight was present. After using his abilities, he realizes that the knight was of level 53. He immediately wanted the knight to join his team. The knight asks why Kelvin was here. Kelvin replies that he initially wanted to defeat him, but now he wanted to join his team. The knight started laughing and tells him that people usually visit him to fight, but Kelvin was a different and unique person. The knight started telling him about his past life. Kelvin realized that the fearsome knight was just an old guy who was now turned into a powerful monster. Kelvin again asks the knight to join his team. The knight took his time, and replied to him by saying it first has to test him, if Kelvin is worthy to be its master or not. Kelvin agrees and asks the knight to not hold back. The knight was impressed by his guts. The battle begins, and at first Kelvin was really having a hard time to fight the Dark Knight, as it was adapting to all of Kelvin's attacks within a blink of an eye. It was obvious that the knight had an upper hand in the battle, but with help of the slime he used a spell to trap him in one place for some time. The knight then went to a flashback of his actual identity. He was once a well-known knight who served under a king whose kingdom was attacked and destroyed. The knight lost her wife and his king, and died holding his daughter in his hands. These memories motivates him to break through the spell and keep fighting. Kelvin was shocked to see this, but still manages to somehow win with an overpowered spell and help from the slime. After defeating the knight, Kelvin submits a part of Black Ghost Knight's armor and was praised by everyone in the guild. He also turned Cashel and his team member to the guild, who were now in the jail. The guide informs Kelvin that the job he performed was way beyond the level of rank D adventurer, so he will receive a thanks from the guild master personally. He then goes on to visit the guild master accompanied by his teammates, including the goddess, the slime, and now the Black Knight. So that's it for today's video. I hope you liked the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.